Welcome back to What the Flag. I'm here with your favorite people ever, Yaz and Kenny. And I'll be honest, if you guys are watching the video version of this, they have each brought something for show and tell. Kenny, do you want to tell us about what you brought today?
Shout out, former teammate Luke Hegney, one of the best flag players ever played with. He represented Australia, did a jersey type swap at World Championships, but excited to see what he does next. So shout out Luke, thank you.
And
From
Yaz?
Down Under.
Down Under. Yes?
What did I bring? This is when I say I brought the treats, the snacks, the twirls, the lint. Oh, they weren't me. Can't do that. My bad.
The Gregs were not
No,
you.
They weren't me, no.
Everyone loves Yum Yum, so.
Yes.
Yep. For everyone at home, they are being beautifully displayed to you ahead of what is going on. Look, we've all been super, super busy lately, and I want to just jump right into it because I know we've talked a little bit about the Bears tournaments, but now we are post-tournament. And I know within our roles across the world almost, you always have to be the ones that set up how to make a tournament or a flag festival or whatever that looks like work. So I want to dive into kind of the operation side of how a day of flag occurs. I don't know, Ken, do you want to kind of start us off with this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I think people don't always realize how much work and how far out from those events that we start, putting things in place, from recruiting the schools, working with their teachers. Sometimes it's the school games organizers, just people who can actually bring children and young people to these events. And then you're looking at things like finding the facilities, the equipment, the branding that you need for the event, the people, volunteers and staff that you need to run the event. And it's a big, massive project management piece, where you've got to gather everything together before, and that's all before you even get to the day, It's a lot that goes into it, but it's good fun because it's, I think it's like being a boxer. You might work for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months or whatever, and you're building up to this one event. But it's good fun. I really enjoy it.
No, it is class. And we look at the Chicago Bears, who've done their 3 locations now. We've got Manchester, Birmingham, and London. And it's just the amount of people it takes to make something like this happen. We've got our photographer, shout out Ben Lumley and Reese. Whoop, whoop. Obviously our videographer who happens to also help produce our show here. So shout out BK Creative. Bless it. He's behind the camera right now, so y'all can't see him. Treasure Teepee even coming in and helping make the event so great.
I think it's great because as these events grow and as people know more about it, it's finding ways to build around it in a way that's sustainable, in a way that allows continued growth. But it's, as good things grow, you find that you add good people and good organizations around it. So we're always looking for people to help amplify the events and make them bigger, brighter, a bit louder,
And then in terms of preparation, how does that work? When you go into these camps, do you sort of take charge and you train them and then play them, or is this something that starts months before where you say to the teachers, hey, this is what I want you to do, or is it something that you guys go in months before? How's the process then lead up to these?
I think that's a great question. I think one of the things we do really well is meeting people where they are. So whether it's a school that's never done any sort of American football, they might know about the NFL or the Super Bowl. Or you have, in a lot of situations, you have one super fan of a teacher who's just like, I love the NFL. I want to get American football into schools, and they're just there. Some people, they have an idea of the sport already and they want to get it in. So it's about meeting people where they are. We provide everything from teacher training to the equipment, especially from a Chicago Bears standpoint, all the footballs, all the uniforms that the girls are wearing, all the brand, it's all we have it all for you to start. It's one of the best things that the Bears have done because they're like, look, we'll give you everything you need to get started, right? Wherever you are right now, we'll get you everything you need to get started, get your kids playing to a standard where they can compete, and then it's over to you. Have things been built in a good enough way to make sure that it can now carry on without that intervention, as we go through.
And I think every country's different, right? In the US, you would have clubs. Like you're going to be going out to a club team essentially. And then the UK, it's schools programs. France, they don't really do during school, so it might be an after school. So every single country has just different avenues to get involved. And then, you know, like you were talking about, Ken, the volunteers are really the ones that make or break the experience in terms of for the kids, like the energy and enthusiasm. Even if you know nothing about the sport, if you've got someone that's super hyped for you, no matter what, that changes everything. And we were really lucky to have Roshan Johnson, running back for the Chicago Bears, who also, ironically, when he was drafted in 2023, it was one of the NFL flag girls from London who picked his draft, was like his draft pick person. So that was incredible just to have that kind of full circle moment. But the days are long, right? It's like you get there super early, you set up, you know, you've got to get everything ready and perfect. Then like the Bears show up and, you know, then it's all guns blazing essentially. And, you know, depending on what location you're at and their experience, Manchester, we had tournaments all throughout the day.
3 fields running back to back to back.
Wow.
And then in Birmingham, it was kind of a hybrid where in the morning it was a range of activities flag football based, and then the afternoon was working with the individual schools to teach them, all right, this is flag football, teaching them the mechanics of the game, you know, as we go through. And then in London, it was an interesting location because the turf that we used was quite sandy, so it was a bit of a dust bowl.
It was like the old style.
Chicago's the
that's
windy
not
city,
ideal.
right? So, you know, it was good to kind of bring that bit of reality with us into London. No, but I mean, it was great, and that was just all then carousel activities, giving the girls an experience. And some of those girls, like, wow, I think we said it, but like, one of the best things to see, to witness, I think it was actually Matt that said it, what was that at lunchtime when, you know, they should have been
Matt, our social media guy. Shout out, Matt.
Shout out, Matt. Was that actually during their lunch break, the girls weren't, they ate, but like they weren't sitting down talking or whatever. They were on the field trying to like throw the footballs and catch them and run routes and stuff. And that was outside of what we needed them to do, you know, or what we asked them to do. So I think that just shows the immediate kind of the ability of flag to get the hooks in, exactly. Get the hooks in there and you know, run with that. So it's super exciting. I found one. Breaking news. I found a QB, a Spanish QB. She's got to be 14, 15. But
Guess what her name is though?
Phoebe.
Because he couldn't.
Spanish Phoebe.
You know, you guys couldn't have
Get away.
any other name would be great.
Cannon of an arm. Just would stand there and just like.
And confidence.
Yeah. But
she was like, I play basketball. I'm just good in it. I was like, yeah, okay.
Must be a namesake.
I need her level of confidence at 15.
Okay, so sorry, last thing. So you've talked about the prep, you talked about how amazing they are, you talked about lunchtime, you talked about finding an amazing person. If you found these amazing players, what's next for them? Like, how do you take them from a Bears camp into like recruiting them to become like someone that could potentially play like at a nationals level?
And it's not. I think that's again another. Go on, yeah, it's like 2 for 2.
Oh, I know. Well, she's been reading.
Great question. Phoebe, I don't need you to run the same.
I know. She can do what she wants. She brought good snacks for show and tell. You brought Jersey.
Wowzers. Okay, I'll do better. I'll do better. I'll do better.
Other chocolates are available.
Accurate though.
Yeah, swiftly. No. Again, that's a really good thing. I think what's really important is, I think if we go into it looking to recruit players, you might miss a beat, you know, because it might be the wrong way to go into it. But what's important is, in whatever location we're in, understanding what there is in and around it, right? So, first of all, can the work we do with the Bears remain sustainable, i.e. can we have enough volunteers, enough coaches, enough facilitators who can go and set up a means of either practice or competition for the players, because that's what keeps then the players. And I don't want to say just girls, because yes, it's a Bears league, but these girls are going back to school, some of them in mixed school, some of them in you know, because it's year 9 and 10 girls, but it might be younger girls or older girls that see it and want to get involved. So having good connections with the local teams, local setups in and around the areas that we're working in, and then it's okay, if we can push them to those domestic settings first, how then can you carry on to work from that? Because because of the small pool of players that exist in American football, I think for far too often, it's been too easy to take someone from brand new to being GB standard on the basis of pure athleticism. You know, I think as that pool increases, these players will need areas to go and learn the sport, learn the game. And I know we often talk about like making sure there are coaches there then to teach them those things. But that's how we identify people. And hopefully, fingers crossed, in one of the Olympics down the line, someone will be like, I started at a Chicago Bears camp, or a camp that was run by Phoebe or Kenny and Yaz, like further down the line. That's going to be great.
And we've had athletes come through, Hannah Winter and Molly, who came through the Jets girls flag program, made it into GB,
Molly Upton,
15U. And so like the pathways are definitely there because you need those with the contact, with the flag teams, and it's just a big part of kind of the success of the sport, and especially for the Bears and Gus, who's fantastic. He wants a sustainability. He wants to be able to see the progression ultimately. I think most of it's just based off of, you know, also having enough people there, enough volunteers on the day who are just absolute lifesavers. I mean, you know what it's like in tackle. You need chain crew. You need so many people to make a game day run.
So many. It's just having those people that are available, because also it's that volunteer role, isn't it? A lot of people maybe don't want to do those roles because there isn't always a give back. So it's just finding that community that is happy to turn around and be like, actually, I'm going to give up my time for something that's for the creative good.
I think on that same note, there are people that want to get involved with football, but don't know how. They want to play. They don't want to play. They don't want to coach, and they don't know how else. So that might be a way for people to be, because I think some of the communities that are created are just amazing spaces that people want to be a part of, you know. So
it'd be amazing if they made a committee like that, you know, like volunteers, like who were for like the governing bodies.
Can you shout Baffa on it? Give a direct call out to Baffa, please.
Baffa. Start a community where people can do chain crew, etc., and join in. And like contribute to the community, and then it gives them more experience. That might also bring players into the game. That might bring more people to the game.
No, but you're spot on. I think we just did, Neil, Jason, and I just did the overtime tour with Hickories, and I think some of those fans would love to be a part of a game day situation. They just don't know how to connect with their local teams, tackle teams, especially and especially in this kind of off season for NFL.
Yeah.
So many people want to like be engaging within the sport and stay connected with it. And kind of on that note, we've now been announced 3 new teams here in the UK.
Really
We've got Ravens, Chiefs, and Green Bay.
2 of them are good.
Rude. Which one's not good?
No.
We'll let you decide.
But this is huge. This is huge because now you've got 10 NFL teams who are totally bought into the UK and Ireland.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Can you guys name them? Besides the 3 I just named.
Together?
Sure, together. Yeah. Okay, we got 3.
Jags.
4.
Haha.
Vikings.
Yeah.
5.
Jets.
6.
Bears.
Yep.
7. 3 more. Steelers.
Yep.
Yeah. 8.
2 more. You might not guess them because they probably aren't as popular from a NFL UK.
I don't.
I'm just
no.
on the back.
Me too. I want to
the Super Bowl there's next year. Hey, Super Bowl there next year. Hey.
Raiders? West Coast.
Yep. Oh my gosh, this is taking too long. We've got the 49ers and we have Miami. So now
I said Dolphins.
No, you didn't.
No, I did.
We've got witnesses.
I did.
Run it back.
Run it back. I said Dolphins, but I think that's wrong.
Me
too. I was with Dolphins.
Super Bowl there's
I was with Dolphins.
Super Bowl there's
I was with Dolphins.
Super Bowl there's are.
Someone put it at the end in black and white with sad music
Yeah,
in slow motion.
So we've got these new teams. So this means more and more activity is going to be happening over here, which is also fantastic. And then the owners AGM just occurring, something that's been incredible it's every year it happens, where they do like the photo of all the head coaches, but Caitlin Clark, Serena Williams going and doing a talk all about kind of women in sport and flag football. Yeah. Caitlin Clark coming out saying that she could potentially want to play 2 sports, playing flag football
can she play
and
flag?
basketball.
Can she play flag?
Of course she's a Chiefs fan. She can do whatever she wants.
Interesting.
And she's Caitlin
That'd
Clark.
be a great crossover.
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine?
Basketball athletes.
Caitlin
are-
Clark times flag.
Nah.
The match.
But it's awesome. I mean, the past 3 years, we've had talks on flag. Nausicaa did 2 years ago. I was last year on flag. And then this year, more flag. That's taking over. And of course, the news coming out about the Pro League that the NFL are looking to start with 10 bidders at the moment, 10 companies.
Can you tell us a bit more about the owners AGM and what that is? And because then I think that it will make sense where this Pro League idea has probably a bit more juice than people might realize right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess owners AGM, it's all the owners, head coaches, kind of all the literal like general managers, everybody that's like top dogs essentially within the NFL go and they go over, you hear about the rule changes, they have conversations around that. They've got all sorts of meetings. Richie Gray's been doing some tackling talks. It's any kind of like updates. It's just like we would have like our regular AGM every year.
A one-day thing or?
No, it's usually a 3-day thing. They normally do it in Florida because who doesn't want warm weather? And so that's, and they always try and have something like good set up for like big kind of keynote talks and things like that. So that's occurred. And then really the Pro League, that was Roger Goodell around Super Bowl time talking about how there's going to be a professional women's and men's flag team. But when this bid goes out and you've got 10 companies super interested in it, it makes it so much more real. And so now you're starting to think, okay, some of our international players, what does that look like for them? Could they be playing maybe on a professional flag team?
That would be very interesting because I think it's when you have I wonder, will it be the NFL teams? Will there be a flag version of the Raiders or the Chiefs, or will it be completely separate, like more the XFL type of teams? And as we go through, I don't know. I think it would be very interesting to see what that looks like from a global viewpoint. Eyes looking in, because I think you can easily have a US only system that would work and would be quite, the level of play would be quite high, but then you would have, flag football is played in Mexico like nothing else. I think they call it Tachita. There's got to be some.
So nice.
There's got to be some great players there who could play in the league. But then, as Phoebe said, from all over the world, looking at players, all the top players from the World Championships, for example, how many of them could make pro teams in, and how much would they get paid?
Yeah,
that's always.
Can I coach? Yes, I can coach. Surely I can coach.
Yeah, of course you can coach.
Yeah.
And then it's an interesting question as well as to whether, like you say, they keep it sort of like an American exclusive, and then they import players in. They go, I think you're amazing, or whether they go, actually, you've got some fabulous players. Why don't you come and play against us? It'd be interesting to see how that works.
And would you go for? I feel like you immediately have to figure out who are your top quarterbacks. Let's say you have 6 teams, 8 teams, whatever. Could you pick 8 incredible quarterbacks, like women's, men's, and I feel like you'd have to build your teams around that. And I would definitely be someone pushing to have at least one international athlete on each team, because if you're trying to say this is global, I think it will be in the States purely at first, but growing to that European side, because you'd have to it's interesting because this is kind of what you're going through right now, right? You're going to go be a pro player in DC. So do you get paid? Where do you live? Like, there's so many questions. Like, how does that operate for you?
And well, it's all down to the team. So it's however much the team can basically like afford to give you. So because of visa sort of issues, you can't get paid for it. Okay. So anything that you get paid is essentially your accommodation, your flights, your travel, things like that.
In lieu
so they're taken care of. You're not getting paid.
So you're taken care of, but then essentially
Donald's watching, so you've got to be careful what you say. Okay?
I love America. So yeah, they take care of you, but essentially anything sort of monetary that you want to do. So if I wanted to go out and sightsee, if I wanted to, fly to another state of my own volition, like they don't cover that. But I'm looked after. Like I will have travel, I'll have transport, I'll have a house, I'll have
to practice
that stuff. Yeah, and then obviously they just look after you like a team does anyway. So if I'm like, I'm poor, I need food, they'll be like, here's some food. But yeah, it'd be great.
But those are some of the, even those communities are some of the ones where we're talking about where people just get together, and if it's like, you know, we share dishes or it's a cookout or people, you know, it's ways of looking after. I think it's, you know, I'm so hyped for you. It's going to be an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I know, it's going to be incredible. And then I wonder, because now you look at the pro league, you know, there's definitely the men's side of things. OT7 is something that's really taken off in the States, which is kind of a social media, YouTube kind of driven league, but like RG3, Cam Newton's been out there. It's all like, you've got commentary around it. I think, how do we get it to that level? Does the company that wins the bid, are they someone that would want to then take over control of everything?
Yeah.
You know, the NFL doesn't necessarily want to be the one that's like liable for all of that. They want another company to kind of take it and fall within those guidelines. How do you choose your head coaches, but how do you then scout for all of this? You look at like USA Football, they do talent ID camps. Now they charge, I want to say, almost $100 per person per talent ID camp. So
I would raise the amount, first of all, because
Would you?
you know that, no, it's just to, not to make it not affordable for people, but because it lets you know who's serious.
I think
about
everyone's serious.
But isn't that
But
like
I
defeat
think-
the point? Like we've spoken before about how, you know, we play football for minus money. Surely by charging people more money, you're kind of maybe
If it,
like, I know you're narrowing down your numbers and that's like,
I think
that's
you
a good thing.
yeah.
But like, aren't you making it more difficult for maybe those people who don't come from those backgrounds that can afford it, but might be really, really talented? Like where do those teams fit in?
I could totally understand, but you have to find, because of the sheer number of people you could have who, because what you don't want to do is, quite literally, you could have 50,000 people apply. I'm throwing that number out as, but you know, because this is men's and women's, so
Beat it.
With like a disclaimer for Kenny
Sorry.
and the hay fever that's occurring.
Yes, we're going to plow straight on through. Apologies.
Strong.
But to cut those numbers of people down,
Yeah.
you have to find ways to do that. Now, it could be that you have to send videos in. You have to, but if people are serious about trying out for it, trialing for it, that's why I feel you have to raise the amount that people pay to do it. It's because otherwise, if everyone can, if it's, imagine if it just throwing numbers around again, but if it was just $50, a lot more people can, quite literally, it's not just they can afford to part with that money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's easier to part with it, so there's not as much. They don't have to be as much bought in. There's not as much skin in the game. Whereas if you make it a certain amount, then I think you cut out all the. I'm gonna just. I've got nothing to lose type.
I think my concern is always, I hear what you're saying, but how, like, there are people who just can't afford that. So how do you make it so that the ones that cannot afford it are able to still trial? Or if you've got international athletes trialing, so what, now you got to pay for a flight to the States, and then you've got to pay to do that?
If that's where the job is, yeah, you got to go. And that's what I mean. I know it sounds a bit harsh. I'm just like, you have to go to where.
You're looking at it like you're applying for a job.
For a job, literally.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is, right?
Unless you make it like a scholarship thing. If you have owners that are willing to sort of fund this, you make it like a scholarship thing. You go, right, X amount of places are funded, so if you need it, get into contact, send your film in. I feel like a film should be a standard.
How do you
like, I
watch
feel like you
10,000 bits of film?
Yeah, you do need to narrow it down. How did you apply? How did you end up?
She
they
said,
found me.
I am, yes. Oh, they found you.
They found
that
me.
was better than what I
So
did.
it was a
Sorry.
mixture of both. So I'd spoken to them before, and we'd had like on and off conversations, and I'm really bad at answering my messages. And then busy. And then basically they had watched the film from Worlds, and then post that they then seen like film on YouTube, and then reached out again and then asked if I was interested, and I was like, yeah, great. And they were like, actually, we want this player as well. Will they come out with you? And we were like, yeah, great.
Oh,
and then I was like, we've got someone else as well. They were like, yeah, fantastic. That works perfectly for our playbook. Let's do it.
Huge.
So
That's
there we
huge.
are. Shout out Jackie and Anna.
Yeah.
They'll appreciate that.
And that's so cool that you got to be out there with some of your friends. Like, I get to be here with you guys. So
Yay.
until next time, my two favorites ever, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
I don't know which side it's
Ding
on.
dong.
Somewhere down here. It's somewhere down here.
Yeah, me too. I want some dolphins.
Super Bowl, there's